Hello, everybody, and welcome back.
Hello.
Oh, welcome back to Poolbox Pals, the podcast with your two Poolbox pals, Mark and Monk. I am Monk. That's
And I
Mark
am
over
Mark.
there.
Yes.
Oh, so I was going
Yeah,
to say hi to the people at home, Mark, but I guess you already did that.
I did. I'm quick. I'm quick to act.
Oh, you. Well, hey, that's good. No dead air.
Mhm.
That's the thing. I was gonna
Yeah.
try to stop talking while you were taking a drink so that there would be dead air, but it was in the middle of my sentence, so I couldn't have just been like, "Oh, do you want to do it again?"
You want me to lean in and take a sip?
No, we just lost everybody.
What's shoot, it's oh man, what's it called? People who can't stand like the sounds of like mouth movements.
Yeah.
Mesothelioma.
Okay, sure.
I
The
think that's what it's
opposite of
called.
mesothelioma sounds like something they would advertise on the television and tell me to get drugs for that would ultimately end in my own death.
Were you listening to a podcast and you heard somebody take a sip of their soda or crunch on their snack? You may have
You were upset.
mesothelioma.
That I like well, yeah, I guess I wouldn't know what it would be called to enjoy those things. I was just gonna say people who listen to ASMR, but yeah, what do I know? So
Yeah.
how you doing, buddy? I wanted to show you something before we started getting going.
Let's see
Um
it.
Look at this cool Empire Star Wars mug I have. It says The
Dude,
Empire
that's
Strikes Back. That's the best one, and here's the best part, Mark.
oh
Look at that.
oh you got it. I'm gonna quote Quagmire here, but anybody got a towel?
Yeah, man. My lovely lady got me this for Christmas, not Valentine's
Oh,
Day.
nice,
Yeah. And I
nice.
I like was looking at it tonight. I'm like, why don't I use this for my nerd podcast?
Yeah, I don't have it on me, but I also have a mug like that, but it's for Return of the Jedi, I believe.
Really? Is it like in the
Yeah,
same art style too?
it is, but it doesn't say Return of the Jedi on the back like yours says Empire Strikes
Oh,
Back. It just has like it's more of like a wraparound, but like that the same style of art, but I think it goes around the whole cup.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
yeah.
Um, I forgot to say this up in our intro, but we are brought to you by the IWEP Network. I just want to say shout out to them. Thank you for having us and supporting us, allowing us to use this literal streaming platform to do this. So yeah, big shout out to them.
Yes,
But
thank you.
I also there you go.
Mhm.
Wanted to ask you, have you watched this little television show called Moon Knight?
Moon what? Just kidding.
Moon Knight. I
Moon
think it might be
Knight.
Moon
Yeah.
Knight.
Connect. Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
He's a knight of
Yes.
the moon.
Yes, I
What
have.
What are you thinking so far?
I am really liking how they've kind of structured this show so far. I don't know. I like to me like as far as like the MCU TV shows go on Disney Plus that have come out over the last year or so. Episode 1 of Moon Knight might be in my like it's my opinion, so like you have to listen. Um, it might be the best episode 1 of those shows.
I think I would have to go back and rewatch them all to like to 100% agree with you, but at the moment
Yeah.
I'm like 90% sure I agree with you because it was so good.
Yeah, because I would say that all of the episode 1s for all of them, and yes, I will say WandaVision. I know a lot of people struggled with the first 3 episodes of WandaVision because they didn't really understand what was going on.
What's
Which,
happening?
yeah, but no, the all 4 episode 1s is that yeah. There's been 4 shows, so all 4 of those episode 1s have been really, really great. I loved episode 1 of Loki, and I've been thinking about it since I watched it, and I just really like how much focus there is on Stephen Grant, the main character, and it's just if you know it's been out for a week now, so if you haven't seen episode 1, we're not going to spoil too much here, but just Stephen Grant, he discovers that he has like these new powers, and these powers can be both a blessing and a curse to him. And if you know anything about the Moon Knight comics, Stephen Grant is an alter ego, and actually the first alter ego of Mark Spector, who is Moon Knight. But I just really loved how there was so much focus on this alter ego rather than the main ego for the first episode, and him just figuring out like, what is going on with me? Like, what is this?
What,
and
like, I 100% agree, because I feel like I something that I've been very worried about is, I think Marvel, more so in the movies, I've been feeling this than the TV shows, but I feel like they're getting very lazy with their writing. And with this, I'm like, wow, they're going for it, and they're trying to do something new that like isn't fully like about, the Chitauri event. Like, I'm so tired of seeing it in flashbacks. It was enough in Hawkeye. Like, I don't need to see it again.
That's like, the show I forgot, Hawkeye. So there's been five series. I forgot about Hawkeye.
You took a
reasonably.
You shot yourself in the foot by trying to put out a number, buddy. You should have just said all the shows that came out so far.
All the shows that came out so far.
Oh, all the
y'all just misheard me. I didn't say 4. I said so far. So 4.
I think we're getting the Thor trailer soon too. Next week, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna do a little forecasting. I'm planning on covering the Unworthy Thor series in an upcoming episode, probably the week before the new movie comes out, just to kind of give a shout out to the villain that's going to be in the movie, and just, in my opinion, the Unworthy Thor series is just so fun with Thor, and I will get into that later, but that's something coming down the pipeline.
Well, awesome. So I think we're going to try something, but yeah, obviously go check out Moon Knight. If you haven't checked out Moon Knight yet, go ahead, go and do that. I'm sure if you're listening to this,
episode 2 came out last night.
Yeah.
Not last night, yesterday. Just yesterday.
I think it's better than episode 1.
I need to watch it again. I had a few distractions happen while I was trying to watch it last night.
Sure, you have kids.
Yeah. I have those little rascals. But yeah, I did enjoy it, but I'm definitely going to watch it again. And I watched the first episode 3 times. Well, I watched it with my wife, and then I wanted to watch it again because I thought it was so exciting. And then I forgot my son hadn't watched it yet, so we watched it with him last night, and then started episode 2. He fell asleep during episode 2. And there's just a lot going on, but I did enjoy it. I just don't know if I can say I enjoyed it more than the first episode yet.
That's fine. You don't have to, but you're wrong, and that's okay. I'm just kidding. So I think we decided we're going to try to do something a little bit different before we start going into comics. We just kind of want to just right off the bat just tell you everything that we picked up over the past 2 pull box weeks since we last met. Mark,
well, now we're first? Well, yeah, but also we are now going to be trying to do this weekly rather than than bi-weekly. Yeah. But yeah,
it just feels like it's
go on.
It feels like it's a better way to cover the comics, not trying to shove 2 weeks worth of comics into an episode. And just have a little bit more time to be able to just go over the stuff we're reading. So this week, normally, we try to do a bigger thing. Who knows if we're going to be doing that in the future or not. But we just want to talk about the comics that we've been pulling and been reading these past 2.
Because we are the Pull Box Pals.
Box Pals.
And so we should be talking about what we've pulled recently.
Box.
Yes.
Pals.
Pull Box Pals.
Pals. All right, buddy. Let me see what you got.
All right. So up first, I got something from Scout Comics. Cult of Icarus #2 came out this last week. I have issue #1 right here as well. This came out, I'm pretty sure, a month ago. And I just kind of breezed over it because I was busy, and I just was more interested in the artwork of it, which is fascinating. I really do enjoy the artwork of this work. But as far as the story goes, I haven't quite figured out exactly what's going on with it, but I am excited about it because you know why? Because there's a theme going on today with some of the comics we're going to be talking about, and it's one of my favorite things.
Again?
It's vampires. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. But it's like it finds me. Like honestly.
It's I like that it's becoming the theme of the podcast is vampire lore. All
Yeah.
right, I guess that's the thing.
But
Well, you know
yeah,
what?
so
That's funny because one of the comics that you and I both really loved that's also from Scout Comic is Midnight Western Theater, and that's
yeah,
about a vampire.
yeah,
So yeah, that's yeah, let's be about vampires, bud.
yeah. We always have them lurking in the shadows of the pull box pals.
There you go. That's
There
the
we go.
saying that we've always said.
Hi. We've always had that one in our back pocket to say to our beloved fans. Um, but yeah, so
Whereas,
it's another vampire story, and it seems like it has a little bit of like a rock and roll aspect to it. A little bit. I mean, just based on issue 1, it just makes me think of like 80s punk rock and like 90s early grunge music.
okay, nice.
And if you look at cover 2 as well, and I mean, I'm using what you said last time. Just like the covers sometimes tell you what's going on with the story, and they do offer hints. And so, I'm really excited to get to dig into this, and I plan on doing that tonight because I will have that free time to actually read some comics tonight.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to be honest with you. I thought we were just going to like list off all the comics that we had gotten. I didn't think we were going to be talking about them at first, but we can also talk about them, right?
We'll just
too.
there's little snippets,
Just a little
about
snippet.
the ones that we pulled out. But yeah, should I continue on my list, or do we just
Yeah,
want to go
go
one
ahead.
for one? Let me
No, go ahead.
continue with mine. So my next one that I pulled this week was Bounty Hunters number 22. I haven't dug into it yet. I did read 21, which came out last week, which I'll save that conversation for when I get to 21, but I just have a bit of a theory as to why they released them so close together as rather than a month apart.
Like a month apart. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get into that one more later. And then my next 2 pulls, Tim, you actually pulled them as well, I believe. But we'll start with this one. We got Little Monsters, More Vampires. And I have not read it yet, but if people are watching and they know how we feel about Jeff Lemire or Lemire or Lemire,
we'll figure this out. We'll have him on the podcast one day.
Names are so hard when you never actually like meet the person or like never like watched a YouTube video of them being on it or anything like that. Like, because it's not like comic book artists and writers are like on the Tonight Show. That'd be cool,
right?
But
do we have the same cover? I'm pretty sure we do.
No.
Oh no, you got a different
I'm pretty sure mine's just the
Did I get a variant?
cover A. I think you got a variant.
Oh my goodness. Look at that. I didn't even know it. Special me.
I like rarely get variants because I told my shop like I was like I like variants. I also like the original covers because I like original things, but I told them if they ever have an extra variant they can hand that off to me, but it's pretty rare that happens.
I will get a variant if I enjoy it more than the actual cover.
Yeah,
because I think like we've said this before, like sometimes covers is just like literally just the guy standing there being like, I'm a superhero.
And it's kind of like that Darth Vader variant that I had last time. It was really cool, like art, and it was it had already been marked up in value by the time it hit the shop, specifically because of that. Just because of that cover and the artist that did it. And like that's kind of one of the things about variant covers is like sometimes it's just more about the person who drew it rather than like what it has to do with the story.
That makes sense.
And and then my last one, I think we're both pretty excited about it. Again, more vampires here because your old pal Mark loves it. But we got West of Sundown here, and you've read it.
Yeah, I just read it before when you texted me saying you were ready to do this. I was finishing up this very comic.
Nice.
And it's a thick one, but I mean we'll get into it. I mean, do you want to get into it now? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? I didn't even do my pools from this week.
You haven't done your polls, but I mean, maybe we can transition from this because, I haven't read it yet. And I'll tell you what I'm more interested in than like what the publisher's summary is of the story is there's 2 writers. who also did some of the artwork for it, and then they have an artist who did the panels. But
Right.
Aaron Campbell and Tim Seeley. So Aaron Campbell he has the next issue of Berserker that's coming out. He's writing that one. But I don't really know his name. But I was like looking over, and he has quite the resume of comics, but he has nothing from DC or Marvel.
Really?
Which is kind of like rare to me. It seems that there's an artist out there who has quite the smorgasbord of comics and different publishers, but to not have like a Marvel or DC title, it seems like this guy's pretty maybe a little hardcore indie comic book
Yeah, I
writer.
was gonna say, do you think he's just like, I'm only doing indie stuff? Because I'm sure Marvel is like Marvel and DC. The thing about that, it's probably like nice, steady work, and like you don't maybe have to think too hard, you know?
Yeah,
But like, yeah, I mean, more props to him because I, you know,
yeah.
I love the hell out of indie stuff. So
Well, and then on the
go get
other
him.
end of it, the other writer for it, Tim Seeley, uh,
Hmm.
he's done a lot of Batman, like a lot. Um, like
Have
I
you
think
read any of his stuff?
not that I'm aware of, because I just briefly skimmed, comics that were attributed to him, and
Hmm.
it was just I just saw Batman after Batman and didn't look in too much depth on which ones. But I mean, I haven't
There's
actually
so
picked up
much Batman.
There's so much Batman, and I haven't picked up Batman since since the New 52 first started like 10 years ago, because I got burnt
Yeah.
out on it really quick, and it just wasn't like the Batman, the classic Batman that I don't know
Well, that we'll get
that I
to.
got. We might, yeah, we'll get to that, but just that 90s like fun Batman also still kind of has like a hint of like the golden era of comics, where you are getting you described it last time too, as tune in next week, kids, when Batman
Mhm.
faces off against this new foe. But like the way that they did it in the 90s, they were still like kind of regurgitating villains, but they were just doing it in like a fresh, like fun way. And like Batman ruled the 90s. I mean, we had the Batman the animated series,
Yeah.
the comics like back then were just like absolutely fantastic. The
Well, well,
I'd
hey,
say that the downside
save it
of
for when we get the Batman.
well, we'll save a little bit more. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. But
You're
yeah,
so
give
impassioned
it.
there.
I do love Batman. I do love Batman. I'll just leave it
Don't
at
we
that.
all? So,
Um,
yes. So my
but
pulls for this week, I actually, besides the two that you just listed, I only got one other comic, and that was Batman Beyond issue number 1. I
okay.
was I've been in a Batman mood lately, and I want to tell myself it's not because of the movie, but it's almost certainly because of the movie, right? It's probably because I
Yeah.
watched the movie and then I've been thinking about Batman a lot, and then I'm like, I should read some Batman.
Yeah.
And like watch the animated series. So it's definitely because of the movie. I'm just like trying to like tell myself for some reason that I'm doing this not because of the movie.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so this is I didn't even get a chance to write it down. Hopefully I can find the names on the inside. Oh my goodness. There we go. So it is written by this one has two writers too. It is Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig, and the artist is Max Dunbar. Sebastian Chang does the colors, and Adita Bidikar, sorry about that if I pronounce that wrong, does the letters.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I like I said, I was just in the mood for something Batman this week, and there was Batman. There was a Flashpoint origin of kind of going into the origin of how Thomas Wayne became a Batman. There was also, I
Hmm.
believe, a Batgirl story that came out this week. I wanted something that was like Bruce Wayne, and the closest
Hmm.
that I could get to was uh uh Batman Beyond. Because and again, I don't want to go into Batman, but like look how big that character is that 3 Batman issues come out and none of them, and Batgirl being a part of that larger thing, and like the fact that none of them have the title character in it, that's
Yeah.
like That's insane to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man, there was Spider-Punk came out this week as well. So it's
Oh,
kind of like a
nice.
similar thing of like, he's just so his world is so big that like Venom's running and like, Madam Web or whatever the
Yeah.
hell, but yeah, I don't know. I just got this, like I said, just because I was in a kick. I haven't started. I was paging through it and I was reading a little bit, and just after I was doing that after reading some other comics, so I was like, I feel like I'm not giving this as much attention as it deserves. So I'm gonna just put it to the side and kind of pick it up on another rainy day. It's raining like Oregon weather out here today, but
Oh boy.
oh boy. But yeah, so this is probably the first DC thing that I've brought onto the show, almost certainly. Maybe just
Yeah.
the first DC thing in general.
Yeah. I think the last DC comic I got was when the Joker series started. I think one, and then the second one came along, and I was like,
The three Joker series,
whatever.
you kind of broke up there a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, there was a Joker series that I think it started like 2020 or maybe 2021. I got the first 2 issues of it, but just
Oh,
decided I didn't want to
okay.
continue with it because I wasn't. Yeah, I will say this: the one thing that is the most appealing thing to me when I'm looking at the shelf, like usually I go into my shop and I'm like, hey, I'm here for my pulls, and they'll pull it out of my box, and like I'm gonna go check the shelf, see if there's anything else I want, and I'm always so drawn to a lot of the covers of DC comics. It's a lot of the artwork on the covers. It's very fine. I don't have one to show as an example, but
I mean, yeah,
I wish
this
I
is a
did.
great. But I think this is like this is victim of like this is like again, it's just like a vague cover. He's standing over the city. I guess I didn't even really go into what this was about, but this story picks up after there's another arc. I forget it. It just hinted at it. Let's see if I can find it real quick while I'm chit chatting. But this picks up after another arc, and Bruce Wayne is dead in this story, so he's no longer around to, be
That's
a
interesting.
mentor figure to. I don't even remember the name of Batman Beyond. You'll know it.
No, I was never a fan of Batman Beyond.
Oh, really?
Like
Why is that?
Batman. I think it has to do with Bruce Wayne. I remember
You
like
just
when the
really
show.
like Bruce Wayne,
Well, yeah. I mean, Bruce Wayne is Batman, the
right?
one and only. But
Well, here we
I
are
think it
trying
just
to
has to
dance
do
around
with,
Batman again.
yeah. I just remember when like the show first came out for Batman Beyond. Like I don't know, I was probably like in my had probably just entered double digits of age when it came out. I can't give you an exact year, and I just couldn't get into it. And again, it goes back to like I'm a very nostalgic person, and like I grew up on Batman the animated series, and so when Batman Beyond came out, it was kind of like this next chapter. And like in the series, Bruce Wayne was alive for at least a time, but I haven't kept up with Batman Beyond. It's kind of like I don't really care for like Spider-Man 2099 or whatever it is, but like a lot of people really like Spider-Man 2099. But it's never something that like appealed to me because I like to know I like to cherish the characters that I grew up with, and
Sure.
and I like to find like my new stuff outside of Marvel and Disney. So things
Yeah.
or
So okay.
Marvel
So
Marvel and
actually,
DC.
now that
But
you
yeah,
say that, that actually swings in perfectly. If you don't mind me, I just want to jump into
go
some
for it.
comics that I wanted to review. These are actually from my pools from last week. But I just thought that they were relevant to us talking about this idea of looking for superhero things outside of the kind of DC or the Marvel universes. So I
Mm-hmm.
picked up these two issues, and I didn't realize that they were issues that were reintroducing worlds that had already been established. I mostly just picked them up because they looked interesting, and I wanted to, just see what they were about. Let's do this one first. So this is Astro City.
I love that cover.
Yeah, dude. Well, I'll try to get a
It's
closer shot of
it's
it.
it's popping.
It is popping, and it's so like vintage. It's very like I mean, it looks like very Alan Ross. Oh, Alex Ross, and it is Alex Ross. He did the
Nice,
cover
good
and the
eye.
character designs. Yep. I'm like, this looks so like he's just ripping off Alex Ross. Um, but the writer is Kurt Busek. The artist is Brent Eric Anderson, and like I said, Alex Ross did the cover, and the color art is Alex Sinclair. Um, yeah, and so okay, so this comic is a reintroduction to superheroes that existed in this world, this superhero world called Astro City. And it was a world where there was different superhero teams all based throughout the country, and they all had different tiers of different tiers of uh super, what are they called, sidekicks working with them, and such a things. And this really follows one of the teams of sidekicks who they decided to go off on their own. And it's very interesting because it's kind of them talking about like, how long are we going to stay in this thing? Are we going to, eventually your knees are going to give out and all that? Like, am I going to want to, how long down this thing am I going to want to go,
Mhm.
um Oh, my buddy Billy Trey says that's Mad Maxi vibes there on the bottom, and it is a little bit similar to that. They are in a desert in this issue, and so it's something that I really miss, and this again will kind of come up when we talk about Batman. I wish there was just a world of characters that like I didn't know, like or about the Vulture or all these things. I would love to kind of get dropped into, and I guess that's what I'm doing kind of here, and that's why I enjoyed it, was getting dropped into a world that already has established, you know, villains and backstories, whatever, because it's not that hard if you know comics and how they work to pick up all those things and follow along and such. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. Do you look like you have something to say? Do you have something to say?
It just, by the way you described, just wanting to like find new like characters and like just like in new cities and stuff. It made me think of Mark Miller. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just totally drawing a blank on it. Oh, Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah,
Have you ever
I've
read
never read
Jupiter's
it.
Legacy? Okay, so
No.
the show does not do the at least the first five issues, which I don't think that Miller intended on going beyond the first five. I think it just got so popular that he continued it. But
Interesting.
yeah, when I got back on a comic book kick like 10 years ago after I moved back to the States, that was one of the first indie series that I picked up, and I just like ate it up. But it's kind of like a little bit like dystopian, but more in the sense, like more in the like the family sense. It's more about like if you watch the show, you'll understand it. But that's one thing they did well. But it is about like there was these Supermans and Batmans of this universe. But now they're getting old, and the zeitgeist of the world has changed, and now their children are the ones who should be up and coming. And there's just so much of that dynamic of like, no, the old ways are better. No, we need to like change. And so
Mm.
there's a bit of like family politic in it as well as like world politic. And I don't know, I loved it. But your description there of just wanting something like new, it reminded me of like, oh, I love how they like did these takes on like something old but made it new, with
Yeah.
like the characters from Jupiter's Legacy.
I need to read more Miller because I've only ever really read Kick Ass from him and like some stuff he's done for Marvel. Um, but yeah, I've heard very good things about Jupiter Legacy, the comics, and not great things about the TV show. So I'll have to
Yeah,
sit down with the just on Comixology. I'm sure it's there and just breeze through it sometime.
yeah.
But yeah, so let me just jump into this other thing since we're still kind of talking about worlds. This isn't a superhero world, but this is a super fascinating world, if I can turn a phrase there fantastically. This is called Zombies versus Robot Classics.
Mm.
Is by Image, and I forgot to say that that last one was also from Image. And This is a sorry if you heard me burp there. This is a reintroduction again into the world of zombies and robots. There was another trade paperback that came out. I mean, obviously it was a run and all that, and it was called Zombies versus Robots versus Amazons. I believe
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was. And it was by the same creative team, which is Chris Ryle and Ashley Wood. I believe they work and did the art together or something like that. So at least how it's looking. The cover was by Ashley Wood, so she probably did the art and he wrote it. If I just had to guess, yeah. But I am in love with the art. I'll try to find like a good page for you. But the yeah, so it's very reminiscent of like Primordial, but also it's like Primordial and like other stuff from Jeff Lemire mixed together. So very like bold and
Oh,
poppy,
okay.
but also like dreary and whatnot on like other pages.
Yeah.
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 But it's so
That's
this story,
ooh.
so I guess if I have to set it up,
Ooh.
I would say that ooh, um the it's if I had to guess, I didn't spend enough time looking into this, but it seems like there was this just the last comic just dropped you into this world where zombies were fighting robots. And this seems to be like kind of like issue 0 in setting up what that world is going to be. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the story that they tell to of how like the zombie virus comes into here, I won't spoil anything, but it's really brilliant. It's told wonderful. How they set up the robots is also very fascinating. Um, both of these comics, I don't know if they're going to be added to my pull list. I'll have to see how I'm feeling, next week when they come, or next month when they come out rather. But yeah,
Yeah.
I I really enjoyed reading both those comics.
Yeah, I like that you said more of a zero issue because that leads me into. I remember when I pulled it and you were gonna try and pull it. Sorry, I'm
Mm.
drinking a seltzer water and it's also making me very burpy. And I also
Same.
realized I think I said that like auditory thing wrong. I think it's misophonia or misophonia, and I think I said mesothelioma, which might be like a type of cancer. So I just want to clear that up. But anyways, um, so anyways,
Good.
this is Cities of Magic. Uh,
Nice.
I was pretty hyped on this when I first read about it. And I know that you were too. You even had sent me a text to the covers, be like, "Man, Scout's putting out some really cool like covers for their upcoming stuff, and it all just looks super badass." And I was like, "Yeah, it does." And you had that with Rad Wraith, right? It was it was like fun, but it just
Yeah.
like wasn't. It didn't really live up to what the cover showed
Yeah.
or what. And so, anyways, but
Let me just
this,
I
yeah,
enjoyed
go,
it,
go
but
ahead.
you're right. It definitely wasn't like I was yeah, it was very quick. I feel like the next issue will be like a little slower pace and telling more of a stretch out story, but they was just very quick world building.
Yeah, and so with this one, it just I don't want to like knock on anybody too hard because at the end of the day, everybody's just trying their best at whatever they're doing in life, and I like seeing new names on comics, ones I'm not familiar with, and I'm not familiar with the names on this comic. We got Will Tempest as the writer and Jacob Free as the um, well, actually they co-wrote it, but Will Tempest did the art, and the script is by Jacob Free, and they have a different colorist. The colorist is the only person I could see that had anything attached to his name, other than Will Tempest has a bit of work with Image, but not much. But the
Mhm.
guy who did the colorist, Brad Simpson, he's done a lot of Marvel with Amazing Spider-Man and Deadpool. He's done some variant covers for Boom Studios, and he's just been around. So, but yeah, it looks like a really fun story. It sounds like a really fun story, and it still does. I will give it that. But it really just also ended up just being like too short to really want to like keep going.
Mhm.
Um, and but it did. It just came across more as like an intro, like zero issue, like, hey kids, this is what's coming up. Here's a preview, and then issue
Yeah.
one's like, bam, like right out of the gates.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Do you think they should do like more do you think they should do like more issues zeros like that in that case? Maybe help to like maybe not be so focused on the central but like just an example, right? So like,
Yeah.
say you're setting up a world and you have like, instead of going to a main person, you're going to like a newscaster and he's telling you about how the world works. So that way, when you read issue 1, it's not that story that you know, but it's a continuation of the world that you're kind of already familiar with, you know?
Yeah. And again, like just going back to the colorist,
Oh
Brad
no.
Simpson.
Did
Am
you
I
lose me there,
gone?
Mark?
Oh, you've kind of broken.
Mark, I might have
You're
lost
frozen.
you.
I
What's
can hear
happening here?
you. I can hear you.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
we're good. Yeah, I can
We're
hear you.
good?
We're good. You're back.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like the colorist does a really good job of like blending the colors. But like one of my main problems with Cities of Magic was the artwork. Like, okay, so let me just start here. The concepts of the story, they're very, very amusing. I think I've stated that, but I want to restate it. But like, it's artlessly adept, and what I mean by that is that like, while the writer and like while the two co-creators, they seem like they're kind of newbie novices, maybe in this world. I don't know, and again, I don't want to knock them down from their stools. But it was really difficult to like sit into a panel. Like usually I want like it's kind of like with Righteous There's the Vengeance that I'll get into in a little while, but I get so soaked into like the artwork of Righteous Thirst for Vengeance and anything that that Jeff does. When Jeff does his art or whoever he works with, he finds really good artists that draw you into not only the dialogue but just the story itself. And so I just found myself just more skimming through. Like it was like, okay, cool. Like here's the story bubble. This art's really not that fun to look at. And the world building seemed a little bit like forced. There wasn't like a whole lot of room for like the mystery that's being put into it. Like at least to how to interpret the mystery. You only know the main character's name because the main character's name is in like the description of the comic, but he's never actually named in the comic. So it's hard to even know that he was the main character. But it still does seem like it has potential. So I'm gonna wait for issue 2. I'm gonna read that, and if I don't like issue 2, I probably won't continue with it.
Yeah.
So
well, hey man, I mean, like you're saying, at least they're like out there trying to do it, you know. And like I'd rather have like something out there that's not the best, but it's maybe, you know, at least I'm trying. I'm making those connections, you know. I mean, they're published
and it's like
by Scout.
And it's like for me,
that's good enough for me.
I want honest feedback from people, you know, and that and it goes both ways. It's like I'm going to give you honest feedback, but I also want honest feedback from you. And so, Will Tempest and Jacob Free, if you're listening and you want to comment on this podcast, please, I'm all ears.
Please, we need all the critiquing we can get.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, where are we at right now?
We're doing all right.
I'm gonna just say, okay, I'm gonna just quickly cover something else, and then do you have like one more you could cover before we go into Batman?
Yeah, let me well, I got 2 more, and I can do them pretty quick. So I already mentioned like Bounty Hunters, right? Okay, so issue 21 came out last week.
That's right. Actually, yeah, cover that stuff.
Yeah, and issue 22 came out this week, and I don't know, like I'm gonna say this, I loved Bounty Hunters from issue 1. I mean, it was a 2020 like startup, so it started back when like a little bit before War of the Bounty Hunters came along. I think issue 12 or 11 or 12 is when War of the Bounty Hunters started for Bounty Hunters. But I'm not sure of the direction they're going with it at the end. And it just seems like, okay, let me do it this way. There's a lot going on with bounty hunters. There's too many bounty hunters right now in this comic. And here's the problem with it. You have, let's see, 3 who made their first appearance in Empire Strikes Back, characters that we've known and love, and that's Forlom and Zukos, who they had their own one-shot, and then Dengar. These are 3 characters who appeared with Boba Fett behind Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back. And they're great. They have a lot of lore and history of Star Wars, and I love them. but there's no focus. Yeah, thank you, on either one of them. And then now we have the introduction. Oh, and then we have one character, Tasu Leech, whose first appearance is in Episode 7 of Star Wars, the Force Awakens. But this is also Bounty Hunters is prequel to that. So he's in there. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And then there's a few characters. There's two characters who are introduced in Bounty Hunters #1. And it seems like there might be a bit of like a passing of the torch going on right now, is because this is issues 21 and 22, which means the writer only has 2 more issues probably coming out. And so I'm going to see it through because I've come this far with it, but I'm not really enjoying how it's ending because it's just very convoluted with characters and it's really hard to keep the story straight. And I was even looking on like fandom last night to like get a better idea of what was going on, and nobody's written anything on fandom about any of the Bounty Hunters comics from like pretty much since War of the Bounty Hunters ended.
I wonder if they're just trying to like let an arc finish. When was the last arc wrapped up?
I think so right now they're Crimson Dawn tie-ins. Or Crimson Reign. So you see it up there at the top, and that's kind of like what came after War of the Bounty Hunters, and there's a series going on for that right now. But it's just it's really hard to like gather what's going on. But it almost seems like necessary to still have to understand what's going on with like the mainline run of the Crimson Dawn comics that are coming out. But I'm still just trying to figure out what Bounty Hunter's place and all that is.
Right.
And then lastly, I harp on this all the time. I've said it enough. Righteous Thirst of Bounty Hunters. This issue is like, for me, all that you could ask for.
Did you say a righteous thirst for bounty hunters?
I might have. I've said that word a lot. Let's
rewind. We're 43 minutes. I'm going to look back and see if you did that.
Okay. I probably did. But yeah, righteous thirst for bounty hunters. There we go. No, I'm just kidding. Righteous thirst for vengeance. No, but seriously, this is like all I could ask for out of like the beginning of a second arc, because the first arc, which the first volume, I got it here. I like it so much. I went and got the volume. I get tired of like pulling them out of their bags and boards, so I was like, I'll just go ahead. The first volume ones are always cheap, so but
yeah, and especially for Image does like $10 or something like that, like for the first.
I think it was like $8.99, so $9. Really? Yeah.
Oh geez, I'm definitely gonna get that then. But yeah, there is something really nice about a trade paperback where you can just like sit down and just like hammer through it and not have to worry about what issue you're on or ads or anything like that, you know?
Yep.
And like they throw like art in the middle and like variant covers and stuff from time to time, so that's real nice.
Yeah, but it was just, the first arc was super fun, and it ended on a really like heavy, thrilling note. And this first issue of the second arc, so issue 6, it's kind of like, here we are now. The audience has a chance to breathe from all the intensity of the first arc. You're seeing the main characters kind of accepting the situation that they're in and wondering what they're supposed to do. So like the main character who's on here, his name's Sonny. He's kind of comes to the realization. Yeah, he's come to this realization like he's probably never going to see his mom again. And his mom, you know, we know from the first arc, was at a home, and like he would go and visit her like a good boy, because all good sons should go see their moms and talk to their moms probably weekly. I don't know. That's me. I talk to my mom quite a bit. But he comes to this realization like, I've left my mom to die alone. But he also now has a new responsibility in taking care of this kid that he kind of picked up along the way through the first arc. And it was just really well done. And like I said, the artwork. So the artwork alone, and Rick and Andre, who are doing this series, they've worked together on other ones before, and people who are used to them from comments I've read are like, this one's not that like great of a thing to them. It's like they probably got the same addiction that I did to the original series these two did together, but now that they've had those high dopamine levels with the intro. They've kind of come down a little bit, but this is my intro to this duo, and Andre gave us a shout out too.
Yeah, saw that
last week, so that was cool. So thank you, Andre.
You're the man. Much appreciated.
But no, seriously, his artwork though in this series, just I get so sucked in that like I can hear birds chirping, like I can hear the water running. I can hear like the cars honking at each other in the streets. It just really, really draws me in. So that's awesome. All I got for Righteous Thirst of Bounty Hunters with Vengeance.
Oh, good. Well, hey man,
it's a Batman with a Vengeance, right?
That's right. I picked up a special copy comic this week. Yeah, and I'm real stoked on it. It is Batman issue 475, and it is an arc called The Return of Scarface. This is part 1. I do have part 2 and 3 ordered.
Oh, nice.
I forget.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, part 2 takes place in a detective's comic. I forget what issues, and then part 3 takes place in back in Batman, the main line on issue 476. But I'm bummed because the Detective Comics cover is pretty sweet. It has the ventriloquist and Scarface on it. But the third one just has Vicky Vale and Batman. I'm like, boo. I want more Scarface and the ventriloquist. So I guess I should introduce who these people are. So wrong hand. This is the ventriloquist. He is an older gentleman. I forget his name at the moment. I should have looked that up. And this is Scarface. He is a little dummy. The ventriloquist, whose name I said I should be looking up, looks like Mark's looking up.
I'm on it.
He has a split personality disorder, and he has this ventriloquist dummy who is kind of personified after Al Capone. So he's very like 1920s gangster, has a Gatling gun. I mean, you saw the getup. Yeah, I just think that is such a fascinating character for Batman to face, because it's just one of those. Batman has a lot of people with, for lack of a better term, mental disabilities. They're just crazy people, and he's the Riddler, the Joker, all these people. They're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and this is a fictionalized world, and these are super villains. They're they're killing people, so it's we don't have to be as it's a story, right? But anyways, I just really love these characters. I really love seeing I ended up reading the issue, and it was just so much fun, because it's exactly what you were talking about earlier, is diving into this world of Batman where like it just felt so, it was so, I could clearly tell that I was swimming in a pool that was like filled with lore and history and depth to it, but that didn't rob me of any enjoyment of the story whatsoever. Like clearly there was like background between Bruce Wayne and Vicky Vale and like that kind of stuff, but it wasn't central to the story to a degree that it was debilitating in my enjoyment of it. And the art was fantastic. I didn't even like go over who any of this was by. It was by Alan Grant did the art, and Norm Brayfogle did the art. And I mean, realistically, I ordered this because I think that the ventriloquist and Scarface would be such a perfect duo for a Matt Reeves Batman movie.
Oh, yeah. I could see that.
Can you imagine, like, because they've already established the mafia and the mob elements of it, and then you have this guy come in and he tries to take it over, and he's never been done in live action, so it would be something new instead of seeing I know I would love to see Mr. Freeze, but like I don't think you can tell a better Mr. Freeze story than Heart of Ice, and unless you're gonna do Heart of Ice, then why even try?
Don't touch the character.
Yeah, I would love to see the ventriloquist. We don't need to see the Joker, but I would really love to see this guy who, is just like I just imagine like Bruce or Batman being very conflicted, because if the thing about this character is that Scarface acts as if he's alive and as if he's autonomous, and that he refers to in this comic to the ventriloquist as hired help. And so people
Mhm.
will talk to the ventriloquist and be like, as if he is the one, and because they're just like, well, he's a crazy person, he's just talking through a dummy. And then the dummy gets offended because he's like, no, you're talking to a lackey, I'm the guy who's running the operation. And I
Yeah.
think that seeing that level of like insanity and like uh whatever it is, just I think
Mhm.
that would just be so fascinating.
Yeah.
um but
Now
yeah,
I
you
just
said
want to
that.
start a hashtag for like ventriloquist for Reeves Batman
I
or
know. I
something.
was I was literally
Uh,
trying to think of the same thing, but there's like no good. We
But
just like
it
need
just
to like bombard
it,
Matt Reeves with like Twitter posts about this.
it just seems so fitting too, and I love that they released that like 5 minute clip of like a Joker scene that was deleted.
Hmm.
I think they should put that back in, honestly,
I
because I think
disagree.
one of well, hang on, I don't
Okay,
I
let's hear it.
say what
State
you
your
will
case.
about the clip. I think what my point has to do is like kind of existing outside of the clip itself because I wasn't a fan of that Joker, to be honest. That portrayal, anyway. Not, I like the actor. I'll say that.
Sure.
I didn't like the get up or the
Yeah, I thought it
voice
was a
that he
little
used
over. I like the
over the.
voice.
It was. I'll give the voice another listen, but
It was
I
a
don't know.
little
I
gross.
something rubbed me wrong with it. But what I loved about it is that the Joker already existed. Like,
Hmm.
so we're not being introduced to the Joker. Like, Batman has clearly already dealt with the Joker. The Batman plays 2 years into the Batman career. James Gordon and Batman are really starting to figure out what their relationship is, the dynamics of their relationship. So Batman's already dealt with Joker. Now he's dealt with Riddler, and he's dealt with the Penguin, and he's dealt with fuck, what are their names? The gangsters, the mob guys,
The Falcone.
Falcone, and yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's dealt with those, and it just makes so much sense. Like, let's bring out one of these characters that we haven't done before in live action. And really, like, I mean, my introduction to the ventriloquist was in, again, Batman the Animated Series. And, like, I can clearly remember those episodes. I remember when, oh, yeah, let's get back to his name. His name is Arnold Wesker.
Arnold
That's who
Wesker.
the ventriloquist
There's
is, the guy.
so there's been three.
There's three of them.
We
Yeah,
did it. But the one's like a
but
mech suit.
I haven't seen
The
it, but
last
this
one,
is
the newest one is like it's like it looks like very like someone was like, what if we made him extreme and badass? But it's like, no, the cool thing about this guy is that he's just a sociopath, you know?
yeah,
Or maybe he's not. Maybe he's just like, because in this, it like, I yeah, just really love this issue, just seeing the wrestling between these two individuals, because where this issue picks up, they just got out of jail. And
hmm,
so they're trying to go back to their old territory. They're a big theme of this is drugs, and talking about
yeah,
they literally talk about crack and cocaine and weed and like all of these things. And I'm like, wow, that's so interesting, because like they don't talk about these things in Marvel comics so straightforward, to just be like they were selling crack, like
yeah. Well, this is also
that's
ammo for my theory though about DC is very much. I don't want to like directly politically label them, but like I think I made an argument a few episodes ago that like I would venture to guess that more like conservative types are bigger fans of DC than and liberal types are more bigger fans of Marvel.
yeah,
And
probably
you
broadly
have to consider
speaking.
that like in the 90s we were still dealing with like purity culture and war on drugs, and we were just being bombarded with anti-drug ads. And DC would take up that market, whereas like Marvel back in those days was still trying to be a voice for the voiceless. Um,
Hmm.
which both both are arguing for a sense of morality on a certain point of view, but it makes sense that you would see that in that issue. When did it? Let me see. When did that one come out?
I know
Night.
because it says it on the thing. March 1992.
March 92. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's over 20 years old. This 2 months ago, so it just turned 20. Um, yeah,
Damn.
and
Congratulations.
it's yeah, but it's yeah, it was just really cool to be able to just jump. Like, okay, so you were talking about the drugs and all that stuff. It was interesting to see Scarface trying to build back his regime, and like
Hmm.
them keeping that continuity alive. To be, it was just really interesting how they tied in the fact that like he had gone to jail. So because he had gone to jail, his rackets, his drugs, whatever, they had all been swallowed up by rival gangs. Now he's out. He's trying to figure out ways to get in. Like he goes back to his old hideout, and it's all disheveled because they had to sell it and all those fun stuff. Um, yeah, and I tip my hat to the people at the time to just be thinking about that, and like the fact that they were talking about drugs going out into the street in the episode, while they were also seeing a drug lord trying to bring about an empire. So it was just like the stories were interwoven fantastically. Yeah, just
Yeah.
uh, if I could say anything, I guess what I'm is just like treat yourself to older comics and just like give yourself a read, because I think you'll be surprised to just be like, heck, this was just a lot of fun.
It is fun. I mean, and that's what I use like Comixology for, and
Mm,
Marvel Unlimited is just like, yeah, no, like I think I've stated before, like, no, I'm not fully caught up on. We'll just go with Moon Knight since it's fresh, but like, no, I haven't read every Moon Knight comic. I do know that I've read Charlie Houston's Moon Knight comics. I love those, but
hmm
I also got into those because of the books I had mentioned that he had written, and I just was a big fan of that artist. But that, other than a few issues here and there that I've maybe picked up, like I've never really stuck with like all of Moon Knight. And having those apps just gives you that opportunity for a fraction of the cost of the actual cover price of a comic to just like breeze
Yeah.
through arcs that have already existed and just get to know those characters and where they're coming from. And even still today, especially with all the lore that there is in DC and Marvel, they sometimes still reference those comics from like way back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you get a writer like, oh my God, I always forget his name. He just recently did the Spider-Man run. I can't.
You got to fly.
Nick Spencer. No, I have Spider-Man up there, so I was looking to see his name. It's Nick Spencer. Um, he is so familiar with the Spider-Man lore. Uh, you're also a stud, Anthony Blackwell. But yeah, it's
Oh, thank
it's
you,
so
Anthony.
that's one of my favorite things about Nick Spencer. He's one of my favorite comic book writers, especially with Spider-Man. I would love to see him do a Batman if he hasn't already.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that he knows these people. He loves Boomerang. He always brings in Boomerang and does stuff with him, and it's like these characters don't have to be lame. You can think for a second and make them really fun. You think like a character like Clock King or Kite Man. Both of those, like in the animated series, Clock King was made really like menacing and like really, really awesome. And in the
Well,
Harley Quinn show, Kite King or Kite Man, whatever the hell his name is that
well,
he
and
was really
you're
cool
making
too.
me think of like what James Gunn has done for a lot of characters in the cinematic universes for both Marvel and DC.
Hmm
I mean, he had what, Polka Dot Man in
Yeah,
in the latest Suicide Squad. Like nobody really cares about Polka Dot Man that much, but
he
like
could have done more with Polka Dot Man. I think he did a
he could
good
have done
job,
he could have done
but
more. Yeah, but
I think he
he,
kind of he took the vague route of being like they're all just acid. I Maybe it was too hard to be like this, like to color code them or whatever. But like, I think that would have been fun to be like, this one makes bubbles. This one has a chainsaw, like that kind of stuff. Oh no, did I lose you again, Mark? Oh man, since
yeah.
oh you're back. Um, I don't know. The Suicide Squad for me, I 100% agree with you on what you're saying about James Gunn using in Guardians and in Suicide Squad to have those characters kind of be brought into light in a new way. But I was definitely undersold on or oversold rather on Suicide Squad. I thought that was going to be a lot more of a epic journey. than it was. And not to say it wasn't, but I feel like I'm just kind of getting off point at the moment. But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to say this when you were talking about Comixology and Marvel Unlimited, or like get those apps, go back, like do everything Mark said, but also when you're like in a dirt mall or like a thrift store or whatever, look for just like random comics from pre like 2000, pre 97, like something like that, because most comics I feel pre that time were meant to just be picked up and read. It didn't need you didn't need to be reading all of them, because they were just trying to appeal. Comics don't have the mass appeal.
They were on the rack at like the convenience store.
Right. So
right? Like it was like 25 cents while you're checking out.
Right. It's not like it's this thing where if you want comics, you have to go to a comic store. They've unfortunately been relegated to the side like that. But part of it is because the industry has gotten so big. But part of the problem, because it's gotten so big, it's become more niche, and it's been pushed off to the side. Not as public, as accessible to the public as it used to be, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, it's also too like, am I gone? Can you hear me?
No, I thought you were for a second. Oh my god, I almost dropped all this water on me.
But yeah, like it's one of the benefits I have of being a dad is that my kids know I like comics, and I don't if they give me a comic, I don't care what it is. Like they know what I like, but like my oldest will sometimes go to the comic book shop by himself and come back with something from the 70s that he found for $1.
Nice. That's a good call.
And I was like, that's great. And
oh no, I think I might be losing you again there, buddy. Oh no.
No, it's not in the best shape, but it's. Oh no.
Oh wait, I'm getting you back slowly but surely.
Am I here?
There you go.
Am I alive? I'm good. Well, given the technical difficulties, and we've breached an hour.
We should probably land this bird.
Yeah, but let's land this bird on. If you're just looking for somewhere to start with comics, just do exactly what we just kind of said. Go to your local comic book shop. Just thumb through the old stuff. It doesn't have to be the stuff that they're trying to get rid of on the main shelf because they order too many of them. Like comic book shops sometimes have to order a certain amount of something just to get one. So, yeah, they always have a lot. So, yeah, help them out and grab those too. But just find the ones where they have like the old like Golden Age and Silver Age comics, and just find one that you know. And if you like the cover, just pick it up. And if you want to turn the page, keep turning that page and just get to know it. And it's really fun. And I just wish more people read comics.
Yeah, me too. They're out there. We just got to find them. And yeah, I 100% agree with you though. I wish, it's amazing to me that the amount of people in my life who enjoy comic book movies, but don't ever think about comics. I'm like, it's the same kind of thing, except your mind tells the story, and you don't have to, pay $20 or wait. There's one every month. You don't have to wait every year. And I mean, how often do Iron Man movies come out? Or Batman movies? Not that often, but a new Batman. Like I just said, there was 3 Batman comics out this week. But well, hey, since I introduced this bad boy, you feeling like landing her?
Yeah, let me land this plane. I'm looking forward to next week. I got 5 on my pull list for next week. I won't say what any of them are, but
I didn't look at anything.
Yeah, I just happened to
closing out. I'll look.
Yeah, I just happen to have mine up right now. So, but yeah, sorry, I kind of like just had a brain fart. I'm landing this bird with a brain fart.
It's okay. For a second, I thought you were frozen again.
I cut out again. Yeah. Maybe I was doing a little joke on everybody. But yeah, everybody, thank you for tuning in today. We will be back next week with our next polls, and we have more coming your way. I have a lot on my plate that I am looking forward to sharing with everybody, and I know Tim does too. So yeah, please tune in next week and have a swell week.
Thank you to the IWEP Network for having us. And maybe we should, I really want to say we'll be back next week. Same pool time, same pool channel. I want that to be our sign off.
That's our sign off.
Well, there we go. We'll be back next week. Same pool time, same pool channel. Goodbye, friends. Happy
Goodbye.
happy time.